I was born what is called a blue baby. In other words, I had a hole in my heart. When I was 5, almost 6, I had open heart surgery at the Children's Hospital in St. Paul, Minnesota. I remember the experience like it was yesterday. I left my body, and even at 5 years old, I knew I was no longer in my body. I looked around the operating room and saw the doctors, the nurses, the equipment. As I rose higher, I was met by a being of pure light. There were no arms and legs, there was no clothing, it was pure light. It was a very, very bright white light, yet it did not bother me to look at it. The being of light enveloped me, but I did not have a body. I had no form. It was as if I melded with this light. I could hear distant voices, but couldn't understand the words. It was like listening to people chatter in a crowded room, but not so loud as that. I was not afraid. I was not frightened at all, as if a 5-year-old would be consciously. I only had conscious knowledge of what was going on at the time. The being stayed with me until it was time to go back. I wasn't given a choice to go back or stay. The being said, "It is time to go back now," and pulled away from me. While I was enveloped in its light, I felt so loved, and that I loved so much. I did not hurt. I did not feel sorrow or sadness. Simply love and peace. The next thing I remember is waking up in the recovery room, with tubes still sticking out of my sides from the blood transfusion. I wasn't afraid though. My mother was crying and I just held her hand. I felt good. I didn't hurt or anything. When I was 16 years old, the doctors told me that I would probably never be able to have children naturally. I have 3 and never had a problem with any of them. 2 of them seem to have gotten some of this psychic stuff rubbed off on them. Both exhibit many of things that happened to me when I was 5. One is now 12 and the other 15. I'm not sure about the third, as she has never said anything about strange things happening to her yet. All my children are girls. After the surgery, I knew when people were going to die. I got in trouble once for saying my great-uncle was going to die soon. He died 2 weeks later. I lost my best friend when I was 16 years old, and 2 weeks before she died, I had a premonition dream about it. All I saw was a white coffin with pink roses painted around the edges. When my great-grandmother died, on Christmas Day, I knew exactly what was going to be said before my mother even picked up the phone. I was 11 at that time. My grandfather passed away in January of 2000, 3 days before he died. I was standing on my balcony, and I saw the air shift. It was winter. It was like watching hot steam rise off the pavement in the summertime. I knew it was something bad, but wasn't sure what. Then my mother called and told me 3 days later that Grandpa had passed away. I developed a writing ability at an early age. I would get in trouble with my 3rd grade teacher, because we were supposed to be practicing our cursive writing, but I would always end up writing something else, and have to start over. I couldn't help it. I didn't even realize I was doing it until I thought I was done with my cursive writing. Usually it turned out to be some sort of story or another. I can't draw at all, but I paint pictures with words very easily when creative writing. I am told I am especially good at poetry. I write short stories, but usually nothing anyone else would be interested in reading. I feel the presence of spirits in rooms. The air becomes very heavy, and it's almost as though I can hear them talking, trying to say something to me. Once I got upset with the whole idea of it and yelled at the thing, "If you are here, then show yourself to me." At that moment, the air shifted in waves as though something were trying to make its way through from another place. I quickly looked away and it stopped. Oftentimes when I am supposed to be sleeping, I am off somewhere else. Unfortunately, on the times this happens, I end up in a place where a child or children are being hurt. Usually forward in time. I see horrific things that I can't do anything about them. When I travel, I see, hear and smell everything. I once experienced the most horrifying experience of my life. A man shot his wife and children. I woke up in my bed paralyzed with fear. 2 days later, a man about 40 miles from where I live shot and killed his entire family and himself. Usually when I have these experiences, I am not me but yet I am. In the case with the man and his family, I experienced the whole thing, as the mother would have. I know he shot her first. I could hear the screaming, the pleading and the crying of the children. When I am in a room with many people, I feel all the joys, sorrows, and pains of the people in the room. It's a hideous feeling to say the least. I have had 2 other NDEs in my life. After having my tubal ligation, and after a discogram. These are my experiences during and after my NDE. Can I explain them? No. Do I want to understand? Yes.